Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to the 8th Annual BBT Africa Conference at the Bytes Conference Center. We look forward to seeing you, hosting you, discussing book distribution strategies with you. Please come through, enjoy the conference, it's going to be exciting, and we will be revealing all the projects and initiatives that BBT Africa will be going through for the next 3 years.
Shiguru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakate Sadma Bandhamu Sarvadhana Mate Bandhamu Sarvadhana Mate.
Welcome all to the 8th Annual BBT Africa Conference. Prabhupada writes, "We must know the present need of human society." And what is the need of human society? Is it fancy technological gadgets? Is it avoiding some sort of nuclear apocalypse? Is it combating corrupt government? Or is it fighting for an affordable education system? What is it that human society actually needs? The answer to this question, I believe, is the essence of the meaning of why we're all gathered here today.
5 years ago, we at BBT Africa undertook a strategic planning exercise in which we looked critically at our organization and our forward path. As part of that exercise, each of us was asked, "What's your individual plan for the future?" I wrote, "My plan is to foster expertise and a spirit of action and creativity within BBT Africa, and for Govardhan Prabhu to succeed me." I look forward to seeing more and more devotees coming forward, especially younger devotees, and also Vanaprastha devotees who've retired from the worldly engagements of family life.
So the first responsibility of any great leader is that he must be able to define reality. whether it's in the business world or the spiritual world. However, reality, the facts of what we have around you is what defines a great leader. So nobody could argue that Srila Prabhupada is therefore the greatest leader because he was able to define reality.
We would like to diversify our service space, where BBT Africa is seen as a continental organization that services all parts of the continent with practical local structures. We want to hold seminars, workshops, get all book distributors together, discuss challenges that they are facing, as well as work on solutions. We want to work closely with our ambassadors and create better synergies between the different African countries.
How does the BBT work? How do we order books? How did Srila Prabhupada set up the BBT? So many questions about the basic organizational structure of the BBT and how it interacts with our greater movement. ISKCON is my body. The BBT is my heart. And of course, he said BTG is the backbone of our society.
What is Srila Prabhupada's message to us? What kind of consciousness should we have before we embark upon this kind of phenomenal task? I think one thing we need to understand is that also Lord Krishna is considered to be the friend of all living entities. Sometimes people may see Krishna as an ordinary personality, but it's important for a person to know, to understand the supremacy of Shri Krishna's position. How is he supreme? For instance, we say Krishna is a friend of all living entities. How many of us, or is there any personality in the world who can be a friend of all living entities? That's impossible. We all have our own acquaintance with individuals, with family members, community, society, in a limited way, even with animals, in a limited way. But Krishna is a friend of all living entities. Yeah, it's also said, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. If Krishna is known as Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, that means he's a controller of all the planets. You know, who can be? So we have to understand, as a translator, a person need to understand the significant position of Shri Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead.
So the journey began. During this time, we worked out of various places, including temples and rented office spaces. Then a year ago, we were introduced to the HQ Bedford View development. The new offices are part of the HQ Bedford View complex, which is located in Bedford View directly opposite the Bedford Center. The building is an environmentally friendly building where green building principles were included in its construction process. Numerous energy-efficient systems have been incorporated into its design. It features an energy-efficient water conservation system, cutting-edge IT and security systems, ample parking spaces, uninterrupted power supplies. The trustees then decided that this was the perfect venue and building to host the new BBT offices.
Krishna Chaitanya the ecstasies that are contained in Srila Prabhupada's purport can actually really be understood by reading and studying itself. So in one way, reading is also a form of purification. It's also a form of strengthening that fire of digestion, the mental ability to understand things. And Prabhupada writes in many of his purposes that proper use of intelligence is actually come to the point where we realize that we are not the body. We are spiritual beings. We are spirit, soul, part and parcels of Krishna.
As with many activities that Srila Prabhupada directed, his early disciples, we had little idea the scope to which his order would grow. That the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, established in July 1966 in a small storefront on the Lower East Side of New York City, would grow to a federation of 650 plus temples, farms, restaurants, etc. Spread and continuing to spread all over the world. That the BBT, which grew from ISKCON Press, starting from mimeographed and stapled sheets of Back to Godhead magazine, has seen the distribution of nearly 600 million pieces of literature, from glossy, informative Back to Godhead magazines to large, beautifully illustrated volumes. So, Srila Prabhupada, by our endeavors, he will be pleased. The people who will receive these books, they'll be placed on the path back home, back to Godhead, and we will also be completely satisfied. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much.
A statement by the late Carl Sagan. So he said, "What an astonishing thing a book is. It's a flat object made from a tree with flexible parts on which are imprinted with lots of funny dark squiggles. But one glance at it and you're inside the mind of another person, maybe somebody dead for thousands of years. Across the millennia, an author is speaking clearly and silently inside your head, directly to you. Writing is perhaps the greatest of human inventions, bringing together people who never knew each other, citizens of distant epochs. Book breaks the shackles of time. A book is proof that humans are capable of working magic."
And whatever we learn, whatever we imbibe, what is embedded in the heart, we actually give out again. And that is the beauty of the Krishna consciousness process, that the more we distribute Krishna consciousness, the more it grows in our own hearts, and more it grows in the hearts of others.
Srila Prabhupada did not say building temples is our greatest welfare. He never said celebrating, having festivals of chariots is our greatest welfare. He never said anything like this in regards to Janmashtami and all these festivals. He is very clear on this part. Book distribution is our greatest service. In the letter dated September 25, 1971, Srila Prabhupada wrote to a devotee named Madhuchara in Nairobi, quote, "Distribution of my books is the highest kind of preaching and thus the best engagement." Book distribution is a type of service that Srila Prabhupada really appreciated.
So when I started with the Back to Godhead subscription program, I learned very quickly that the first thing I needed was what Srila Prabhupada called utsaha, enthusiasm. And then I needed to rise above planning and get to the second stage of doing, making the endeavor, and then having the faith that Guru and Srila Prabhupada will give me the mercy and empower me to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desire.
BTG in 2018, and where we're going with this program, is that internationally, they're looking at a decentralized printing model for BTG, and we want African content in our magazines. But in order for us to generate local content, we need local writers. Okay? We need people on the ground to tell us what is happening in Africa and to get your article into the Back to Godhead magazine.
Devotees who regularly read Prabhupada's books are the ones who are inspired to distribute Prabhupada's books. To encourage reading, we have implemented the CHAD, chapter a day, reading a chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day, and the monthly Be a Sage book club. At the book club, devotees come together and discuss what they are reading, and again, they are treated to a feast. Interesting enough that during a monthly Sankirtan festival, I asked the devotees, how many of you are reading Srila Prabhupada's books for 30 minutes every single day? And all of them pick up their hands.
On behalf of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust Africa, I would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all speakers here today for presenting your important work and sharing with us your wisdom and experience on the sacred order of book publishing and distribution.
Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. Srila Prabhupada ki, Transcendental Book Distribution ki, Jai Gaura Premanande.